Apple should break out of its comfort zone with bold M&A. That's mergers and acquisition.
I didn't know that. Thanks for pointing it out.
Well, listen, you're on Bloomberg, all right? When you're on Bloomberg...
You learn a lot of things.
When you're on Bloomberg, you start talking about M&As. Because you're talking about the stock market, Will.
Yes.
Talking about business. Talking about finance.
Bear market, bull market.
These are the things that you might be talking about.
Yeah.
And therefore, you got to familiarize yourself with these type of terms. M&A, mergers and acquisitions, they're saying it's time for Apple to stop being so stingy. It's time for Apple to stop sitting on that money pile. Suggestion here, this is from Tae Kim, reporter, opinion piece over here. Suggestion is that Apple should be looking towards the likes of, I don't know, Netflix, ever heard of it? Disney, ever heard of it? T-Mobile, ever heard of it? What was the other suggestion he made? I mean, these are enormous companies, but Apple is an even more enormous company. Oh, Peloton was the other one.
That makes sense.
Or Peloton. They did buy Beats once upon a time. Anyway, he goes on to say, look, they're mega profitable, but in certain areas, growth may be slowing a little bit. Nobody likes to hear that stuff. Plus, you had all kinds of companies making splashes with their acquisitions. Microsoft, for example, big gaming stuff. Big gamers. Activision. I don't know if you heard about that deal. 70 bigs. And all of a sudden in 2022, when we say 70 bigs, we're talking about billions, Mo. Now, I know you're working really hard over there, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Right.
If I say bigs, we're talking billions. Used to be boatload. Notice how it's always a B.
Yeah. I wonder why. Because billions.
That's of course if federal regulators don't block that deal, but $70 billion. And what happens for a company like Microsoft, huge already? Well, guess what? They become even more dominant, even more competitive in a variety of markets. Apple, they launched their own media stuff with Apple TV Plus, if you recall.
Yeah, with their own IPs.
Go ahead, Will.
As well.
Go ahead.
A lot of different shows. But the fact that they want to own it, they can't, I think it might be an ego thing.
Is that right?
Yeah. Imagine them buying Netflix. It's kind of weird. It sounds weird.
For the record, this stuff is highly speculative.
It's an opinion piece, right?
That's an opinion piece.
Bloomberg opinion.
And it's not like it's easy to go in and buy Netflix, and it's not like it's easy to go in and get approved. When they bought Beats, it was like $1 billion. Facebook bought Instagram, it's like $1 billion. You get into these tens of billions of dollars, the regulators want to take a look.
Right.
And shareholders might not necessarily agree. But let me ask you this, just before we get off that topic. Which of those suggested companies would be the best for Apple to buy? T-Mobile, Disney. We're talking all Walt Disney, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I think that includes ESPN and a lot of properties you might not know about. Video game maker, EA, streaming leader, Netflix, or fitness company, Peloton. Obviously, we can imagine in our heads what these prices would look like. They'd all be enormous. But which one would be the best acquisition for Apple if they were interested in doing something like this? Go ahead, Will, you're first.
I think Peloton. Because right now they're at an all-time low. Just like bad sentiment. And if they get picked up by Apple, I think it might... the technology's there, and it's a good concept. My buddy's thinking about getting a Peloton, so...
Well, if your buddy's in it.
Yeah. Apple should,
Tell Tim to call your buddy, and I'm sure they can get a deal done. I
think it makes sense.
Okay, so...
The fitness aspect.
Because they already have the Apple...
iFit, or what is it
Fitness...
called? Fitness Plus?
Fitness Plus.
Plus.
Yeah.
It's got a plus
Rolled
in it.
off the tongue.
Apple Fitness Plus. So they can plug it all in, and now they have hardware. It kind of reminds you a little bit of the Beats. situation. You could imagine this integration. There's a lot of hardware that people have. When people have these bikes, you seen these bikes? His friend seen that bike.
Yeah, I
That's the
seen that.
bike
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
talking about.
Right.
Once you got it in the room, you're staring at this bike, right? You're not gonna get rid of it. It's not an easy thing to change.
Right.
That might be an issue for Apple. You don't get a new one every year, that's for sure. But what I'm trying to say is all this hardware is already distributed. It's out there in the world. Those bikes are sitting there. So these are all customers that are on subscriptions, have a huge piece of hardware, and you could just come in and absorb that. You know, it's like the customer base is kind of locked in to a certain extent, maybe more so than in streaming, where you could just quickly be like, I'm done with Netflix. Whenever we do a video, it's like Netflix's prices are going up. All the comments, I'm done with Netflix.
Yeah. Everyone likes a deal.
It's easy, though, to float between those segments. A little harder and then games would be another one. But I don't know. Apple's always been weird with games.
So you're thinking EA?
Well, they're not Microsoft. They ain't got no Xbox at the moment.
No.
It would be interesting if they did have a carrier, a mobile carrier. What kind of weird things they could do with that connection? I mean, the iPhone is still their number one product, but I feel like if that was something they were interested in, they probably would have done that a long time ago because that option has been there, and they've had relationships and exclusive deals with certain carriers in the past. I feel like the biggest splash they could make would be Disney. Disney would be insane. If Apple bought Disney and all of a sudden had all that IP in there, because you're talking superheroes, right? Imagine the phone company owns all the superheroes. Oh, really?
Well, Disney seems like the only one that's on Apple's level.
Go ahead, Mo.
Like, I don't know, Peloton doesn't seem like.
Well, sometimes when you're trying to acquire a company, it doesn't have to be, you know what I mean?
But Disney seems like a gigantic company.
These are not the same costs we're talking about here, right? Yeah.
But I feel like with Disney, it's the same kind of brand. Very safe, very for everyone. So they could collaborate on many different projects. There could be an Apple land in Disneyland, you know, with the Tim Cook puppet. So,
yeah, that would be huge. Definitely. Oh, did I make my pick then? Okay, so I went with Disney. You went with Peloton, and who did Mo go with?
I go with Disney.
He's also with Disney.
all right.
You lose, Will.
All right.
Wow.
I mean, but that would be a much tougher deal to get done as well. I feel like the other one is more feasible.